Bobby. Ça. Bobby.
Oui, oui. Allez, c'est bon messieurs, go!
Le bouclier est arrivé, les deux équipes sont là, mesdames, messieurs. Elles vont être présentées bien sûr. À monsieur Thiago.
Thank you, Jimmy. Yes, good evening, everybody. What an occasion, what a venue, what a fitting finale to a top 14 season that's entertained throughout. It has been a quite superb day so far as the dignitaries, led by Paul Gauze, the LNR president, with Monsieur Boudjelal in close attendance, shake the hands, the bit the players really don't look forward to. There's the Toulon team, just one change, and of course it's a big change with Marnonu not able to make his start in this game following that big hit last week. It means that Mathieu Bastareaud wears 13, Momoz moving one step closer to Matt Guiteau in that midfield. There's Maxime Momoz, Matt Guiteau there alongside Samu Manoa. Such big names in world rugby wearing the red and black of Toulon. Ending with Guillaume Garrado there, the captain. What a view. It is spectacular, doesn't really cover it. It is a very special place as Jackie Lorenzetti meets the presentation party. There's Mathieu Reynal heading up the officials this evening. A big day for him, shortest distance he's had to travel, and he lives in Perpignan, a Catalan himself. And there's the blazered Racing. That's a throwback really to the 1987 final between these two, when Racing wore pink bow ties. A real era of chic elegance. There's their main man. You can't take the spotlight off Dan Carter. So critical to the way that Racing have moved on, particularly in the second half of this season. One of many top quality players on view. Players that have played in top 14 finals before, played in European finals before, played in internationals and World Cup finals before, but this is different. This is first footing for all those players, stepping onto a pitch surrounded by over 98,000 people, stepping out into this arena that is an iconic sporting amphitheatre. And maybe boxing is a valid analogy here, because we've got two heavyweights of French rugby, both with similar resurrections in recent years, both bankrolled by highly passionate, enthusiastic, focused individuals who've invested huge amounts of time and money to reinvent their clubs in this high-pressure business. The Racing lineup intact from that incredible finish in Rennes last week against Clermont. Henry Chavancy there, the enfant de Racing, as they call him, the Racing child, been there since the age of 10. How special is this evening to Henry Chavancy? Bristolin, such a form individual. There's one him off, the try scorer, that try scorer from the end of last week. Chris Masoi playing against his old team tonight. Players trying to keep the focus of what they know they've got to do from the first whistle, but also trying to take in this incredible experience. Albert Vuli and Joe Rokothoko at the end of the line. It is an absolutely immense day for 30 players that are starting, for 46 players that are involved. As the Blazers are taken off, they're ready for action, they're ready to do business. As Luc de Calcon didn't think he was going to be available tonight. He took a heavy knock last week in that semi-final. And there was a lot of doubt on his participation right the way through the week, but with very few tight heads available behind Ben Temefuna, it had to happen that he was in the 23 this evening. A potential weak link avoided. Well, Lee Halfpenny, what a story to come back after that huge long injury period and make the impact that he did in the semi-final against Montpellier. Andy Good sat alongside me. You look at the eyes of the players and you realise just how big this is.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the first time a French final's been played outside of France, and what a stage. Look at that amphitheatre. The Nou Camp, there's been some absolute legends of football played there. There's now 30 unbelievably lucky players to play in the top 14 final there, some absolute legends of the game, and you can see in their eyes there's a lot of nerves. They hate those handshakes going along, delaying kick-off a bit. They just want to get out there and get that first contact, that first kick, that first catch, and let's get on with the game. But what a theatre to play the top 14 final in. It's going to be an amazing occasion, even for players like Brian Habana, with all his international experience, World Cup finals, Dan Carter, World Player of the Year. This is something very, very special.
And you could see from the pictures that came out on social media yesterday when they had their captains run in the stadium, just how special it is to these players. Dmitry Zarzewski knows that he will have to settle his team as quickly as possible because the adrenaline is coursing through the veins right now. After 186 games, we get to the final 80, and it is a huge 80 which will make or break their seasons. Pelissier feeds out to Mamuka Gorgotza. There are some seriously big ball carriers in this Toulon side, and it is going to be key to see how they get their hands on the ball, how quickly they get their hands on the ball early on. As it is, it's Eddie Benarous who gives away the first penalty after just 30 seconds.
Yeah, really happy there with the refereeing from Mathieu Reynaud. It's really important. Top 14 finals have been some turgid affairs over the years. No team has scored more than 20 points since Perpignan back in 2009. You want to see an open game. So the first penalty against Eddie Benarous for not rolling away. You just see he gets stuck in there. It's Chili Chava who doesn't help him get away, but that's what you want to see. You want to see tacklers rolling away, a fast-paced game. And if the referee keeps to that rule, we could see some open play. And Toulon love to score tries, don't they? 90 tries in the top 14 this year. Racing not so much. They'll play a pragmatic game, but this man Lee Halfpenny, what an entrance back into the top 14 last week with his performance in the semi-final. In his second game of the year, you're playing at the Nou Camp in the final. Not bad, is it?
Big game player.
Huge.
Anything but a show pony though, Lee Halfpenny. Such added value to the team with this sure-footed kicking style that saw him kick 6 out of 8 last week in Rennes. Straight on, and straight on the ball is Lee Halfpenny and Toulon. Well, the guys alluded to it in the studio, how points off the tee are going to be absolutely vital this evening, and the kicking of Halfpenny and of course Dan Carter is going to be, well, will decide the outcome, you would think.
Yeah, they certainly will. You know, Dan Carter, he's kicking at 87% this year in the top 14. Toulon haven't had that luxury with Lee Halfpenny being injured all year. Lee Halfpenny's the sort of player, he puts the ball down the tee. Every player on that pitch expects every kick to go over, and he certainly started in the form that we all expected him to.
Carter, who of course has won the top 14 before, back in 2009 with Perpignan, though wasn't really part of the matchday squad, had so many injuries. He only made a handful of performances or starts for Perpignan. There we see Gorgotza making hay down that right channel. And already the Toulon tanks are beginning to roll around the fringes inside the first 3 minutes of this game. A couple of Georgians, well, 3 Georgians. You had Chilichava into Mikotadze and Gorgotza. Brice Dulin had a storming game last week in that semi-final. Such a dangerous operator, so full of confidence right now.
Pareil, on lâche de suite.
Talk about kicking from the tee, Andy, but you kick loosely out of hand to the likes of Dulin. You know it's going to come back in some urgency, some style.
Yeah, you certainly are. Brice Dulin, his first thought is always, let's go counter-attack. Let's see where the space is. Let's go and find some matchups. He's quite small and slight, but he's got brilliant footwork and gets himself out of some unbelievable holes at times. He really is a great counter-attacking fullback and someone to watch tonight. Dan Carter finds a pretty decent touch.
Well, you look back at the tables through the course of this season, and Racing have been in the top 4 since round 4 indeed. Toulon have taken their place in that hallowed quartet since round 10, and they haven't relinquished it. So you really know you've got 2 form teams stepping out for this biggest of matches. Zazewski had a huge game in that European quarter-final against Toulon. Talk more about that later and how that's going to play into the psyche of these 2 teams tonight. Machinot, him off, coming off his wing to allow the extra man, and it's on to Husson. Jan Husson takes Racing into the 22 for the first time.
Avantage en avant bleu.
Knocked forward, though, I think, out of the hands of Chavancy, and a chance for Toulon to think about a counter-attack from their own 22. Bastereau gets his hands on the ball for the first time. Guiteau always got that threat in mind. Tuisova, a constant physical threat wherever he gets the ball, as he's shown all season. Oh! Well, we talk about experience and nous. Who would have thought Brian Habana would get the jitters so early on in this game?
Yeah, I hardly expect that to happen. A brilliant counter-attacking opportunity there for Toulon. Habana drops it, and it's back to Racing 92.
Can the Parisians make something of this?
Avantage terminé sur un avant.
Husson stepping into the first playmaker role that he's very used to, of course. Oh, Fernandez Lobby got his mitts in there, but it's illegal, says the referee. And it's going to be the first opportunity for Racing, you would think, to take some points off the tee this evening.
You can just see the intent that Toulon have come out with. They've attacked 2 or 3 times now from their own 22. We saw Guiteau 5 metres out from his own try line, trying to dance through defenders, and then Habana with the spill. Just see it was Martin Fernandez Lobby who didn't come in from the rear, came in at the side, and see there Tuisova bouncing off people. Bastereau stepped in early on Carter. Brilliant hands from Dan Carter there, puts Husson through the hole early on, and as the boy said in the studio earlier on, Husson's such an attacking threat as well outside Dan Carter at 13. You've got the bludgeon of Chavancy at 12, and the guile and the ability to beat someone one-on-one in Husson at 13, and some brilliant attacking threats for Dan Carter to use tonight.
Well, Halfpenny 6 out of 8 last week, Dan Carter 6 out of 8 last week. Of course, the 6th kick was pressure with a capital P. What has he got in the locker this week? As you'd expect, bisects the posts, and the scores are levelled up early doors.
Yeah, pretty simple kick there from Dan Carter standards. No one in the world would expect him to miss that. As you just see, Martin Hernandez Lobby not happy with himself, hitting himself on the head after giving a dumb penalty away. But we've got 2 world-class kickers on show tonight. 2 of the best in the world in Lee Halfpenny and Dan Carter, and they do not miss those opportunities.
Arrêt du temps.
Matt Guiteau, of course it was only 8 months ago he was up against Dan Carter in the Rugby World Cup final at Twickenham.
Yeah, he was, and what happened that day? Dan Carter, man of the match. What a performance that was from Dan, but it's great to see Matt Guiteau back. You know, when he plays for Toulon, they win 78% of their games. When he doesn't, Toulon only win 58%, sorry. So See how important he is to that Toulon team.
Yes, that's a very valid stat, I think. The hand that he puts on the Toulon tiller is so important. As it is, it's the Racing Maul trying to work their way out of their own half. This really is going to be an arm wrestle this evening. I think Zazewski and Belarus have just about got possession, certainly leading that drive. Well, advantage Toulon.
Yeah, brilliant defensive work there from Samu Manoa. Snuck his way through the maul, if a man that size can sneak through a maul, but he stopped it. We all know the rule and the law. If the ball ends up being collapsed and not playable, it's the defensive team that get the ball. I don't like the law, but Samu Manoa used all his experience there to get involved, get in the mix, and that's what Toulon have probably got. A bit of size over Racing 92 in that back five. You've got Manoa, you've got Gorgodze, you've got Mikhail Tadzi as well. They're all 125 plus kilos. In the second row for Racing 92, you've got Bernard Leroux, who's weighing in at 100 kilos, lighter than me. There's a big advantage there for Toulon.
I'm saying nothing. Of course, the laws are going to be adjusted around them all from the 1st of July in the Northern Hemisphere. Be interesting to see how that changes the style and tactics of play. It won't change the style of that man. Mathieu Bastareaud, the human cannonball, comes through. The kick from Pellissier gives plenty of time, though, to Juan Imhoff to make that call. Again, we see the dents that Bastareaud can make. You look at the change from Nonu to Bastareaud, and it would seem physically to be like for like, but there are differences in the way they play now.
Yeah, I think Nonu will be pretty upset with you comparing him to Mathieu Bastareaud, but size-wise pretty similar in terms of power.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, Nonu's got it in spades. Yeah, Bastareaud's powerful, but he's not quite as physical and as elusive as Nonu can be. We saw that try last week that Nonu scored, bouncing off people. Jesse Mogg carried him over the line from 10 metres out. Bastareaud hasn't perhaps got the explosivity that Martin Nonu has, but in terms of weight, they're probably both touching 125 kilos, so two guys I wouldn't want to tackle.
And the fact that they've moved Bastareaud out one place to put Maxime Mermoz into that sort of second playmaker role gives them a bit more flexibility, different style maybe.
Yeah, it certainly does, and obviously helps out Guiteau as well. Mermoz can be a decent ball player at times.
Steph Armitage allowing the power players in front of him to make some headway. Pellissier feeds it on again. There's Mermoz as Guiteau wraps around behind him, can't find Halfpenny though, forcing Habana to cut back in on the angle. That's the Racing 22. Fernandez Lobe sets their stall out once again. Bastareaud to Armitage. They used to call them the Bosch brothers in Toulon, the way that they work together, but this time the Bosch brothers are having to relinquish the ball.
Take about Eddie Belarus. That is the age, new age prop for you. Fit, athletic, gets over the ball, competes at the breakdown. It was a decent carry there from Stefan Armitage. He bounced off a couple of defenders, but Eddie Belarus picked his time. See Guiteau there with a loose pass. They're looking to get the ball wide to Habana and Halfpenny. They've got some big ball runners as well, but brilliant play at the breakdown there from Eddie Belarus.
You look at the three matches that they've had this season, and of course Racing started their season off with victory at the Félix Mayol back in August. Then Toulon, thanks to the boot of Michelak, came back at them at the Yves de Manoir, but perhaps the most telling fixture is that European Champions Cup quarter-final when Racing denied Toulon the chance of going for a fourth consecutive European title. Do you think that will play into the psyche of the players today?
It's difficult, isn't it? You know, every game they've played this year has been so close. Obviously it was a 1-point victory, we've had a 3-point victory, we've had a 2-point victory. It's just too close to call. The boys in the studio said it, didn't they? You know, they wouldn't know who to put their money on if it was to be a betting game, but two of the best teams in top 14 and in Europe playing at the Nou Camp. What a stage.
Halfpenny under the high ball, a little fortuitous perhaps, but picking things up and setting it back for his scrum half. Guiteau again, the pass had ambition on it but didn't have execution, and wayward distribution from the Australian number 10. Maybe a few nerves showing there.
Yeah, they're obviously trying to play this attacking game that Yeah, they've been so successful at top scorers in the top 14 in terms of tries, and just lacking a little bit of accuracy at the minute. They've given Racing 92 a couple of opportunities in their own half through their own mistakes.
There's a big impact player. We talk about the Toulon tanks. Well, they don't come much bigger than Ben Tamefuna. Hussein looking back on that reverse switch inside, almost catching Toulon out. Rokothoko, scorer of that second try last week. There's Tamefuna, no thought of a sidestep from him. Working so hard against former teammates, of course, this evening. Zazewski setting the target. Oh, it's back. Fernandez Lobby leaps over the top to take possession. And that is a big turnover for Toulon. Christoulin weighing up the options, scanning the opportunities. Hussein, so valuable now to Racing, that just signed a contract extension to 2021. That shows how valuable they think the South African now is within their ranks. Doulin tries to just thread one through, but the ricochet doesn't work.
En avant du rouge, il tape sur le ballon.
You just see a slight difference in attacking formations here for Racing and Toulon. Toulon trying to put width on the ball. Racing very much trying to go through the guts around the breakdown. We saw Tamefuna with a couple of pick and goes. We saw Zazewski as well. They're trying to play it tight, and when the space is on, they'll go to Doulin and Hussein, but the forwards are trying to make the hard yards, aren't they? That's how they won that quarter-final, the Champions Cup. So Doulin here, a little chip through. Simon Manoa just getting a little knock on. Maybe a bit of a harsh call, but the difference in the size. Look at that, Tamefuna, 135 kegs. What a monster.
That's a seismic collision. That's going to be measured on the Richter scale, isn't it?
I'm sure it is. Stefan Armitage won't enjoy getting bumped by him again.
Flexion.
He is a massive unit, is Tamefuna. He's been brilliant for Racing this year in his first season. So important, especially after the injuries that they've had and the issues at tight head.
Okay. Allez, en place.
We have to remember how much rugby that Racing have had since Christmas, really. This is their 19th consecutive game. For Toulon, having been ejected from Europe, as I said earlier on in April, and then going straight to the semi-finals, they've had 4 rest weekends within that period of time. Will that play in, do you think, before the end of this game?
I think it could, especially with guys like Matt Giteau, who's only played 7 games this year. You know, Lee Harpenny's only his 2nd game, so they're going to be fresh. And Racing are right on the end of their energy levels. You just perhaps saw that in the scrum there, the power of that Toulon pack, especially that back 5, the second row, the weight coming through that scrum is going to be evident all the way through.
Quarter of an hour gone and nothing between these two. Matt Giteau, of course, the rumour was back in 2014-2015 season he was tempted to go to Racing Metro, as they were then. Had a look round the facilities.
Didn't like them.
Okay. Preferred the son of the Med, obviously.
I think so. And you talk about someone that's going to Toulon. We've got Wandere Curry on the bench. So for family reasons, he's not signing for sale anymore in Manchester. He's going to sign for Toulon on the south coast of France. I don't know what family reasons they are, do you?
Couldn't understand it. Scrappy presentation to Pellissier, and he gets Lorraine wrapped all around him. Fernandez Lobbe steps in at scrum half. Again, it's Armitage offering to do the hard yards. Toulon trying to pummel that fringe defence of Racing. See if it's going to soften up for later on. No way through for Giteau then, as Eddie Benarous gives him a concrete cuddle, takes him down. Xavier Choki. Halfpenny. There's Bastereau just looking around the outside on this time. They Georgian captain just works so hard, doesn't he, Gorgodze? Always there, always willing, always happy to take the bumps and bruises for his team. Gito dumped by Machino there, just ahead of a spear tackle. That's why we got the reaction from the crowd.
This could be trouble. Machino could be in a bit of trouble here. Look to me at first look as if Gito gets tipped upside down and lands on his head. You can see he's holding his shoulder.
Vincent Azoulay, the TMO, is going to be brought into action for the first time, and this, albeit only inside the first quarter, is going to be a very important call, I suspect.
Huge call. Got to get this decision right. Could decide the game here and now. Just see Machino. Does Gito dip?
Did Machino actually lift his hips up to turn him?
It doesn't look good, does it?
It really doesn't.
But does Gito just see?
It's just that last, almost a leap from Gito that dips his head to the ground. It's not a straightforward call, this, for the officials.
I'm going to call it. It should be a yellow. It is dangerous.
Est-ce qu'on peut revoir les images à l'écran parce qu'on voit pas?
Letter of the law, though, says if they land on the head, it's a red. I think Gito's moving in the air, isn't he? Dips a bit down himself, tucks his head. I don't think Machino deliberately tried to drive him into the floor.
It's that struggle, isn't it?
Isn't he? Yeah.
It's almost like a wrestling move at the end of it as he tries to change things. Well, the officials getting plenty of angles to make the call.
Dis-moi sur quelle partie, quel numéro c'est le bleu et sur quelle partie du corps il tombe? C'est sur le dos, j'ai l'impression, non?
He's just saying on his back, he's fallen on his back, is the referee's impression.
Well, the host broadcaster making sure the officials have got every single angle they could possibly want. I guess the big question is whether he lands on his head or his top of his shoulder and his back. If it's a back, then it'll be yellow, but if it's a red, it's going to be a sending off. Sorry, if it's his head, it'll be could be big trouble for Maxime Machino.
Yeah, the referee's talking about him landing first impression on his back, so you say he's edging towards a yellow card.
Here we go.
Ok, 9.
Judgment call is.
Donc, plaquage retourné. Ok, le joueur retombe sur la tête.
C'est lui qui tombe.
It's going to be red, I think.
Attention sur le début.
Non. Vous connaissez la règle. Plaquage retourné, le joueur retombe sur la tête. C'est un carton rouge, monsieur.
Red card.
Bad news for Racing. So early in the piece, Maxime Machino sent off for that tackle on Matt Gito. And how is that going to affect the match equation for the rest of the 62.5 minutes?
That's a massive decision. You can see how devastated Maxime Machino is. Just heard the referee say to Dimitri Zarzewski there, you know the rules, you know the laws. He's landed on his head, it's a red card. I don't agree with the decision at all. But letter of the law, he is right, I think. Whether it's through the help of Matt Gito just dipping his head at the last second, trying to protect himself. It just didn't look good. And the referee's made the decision, red card, game changer.
The disconsolate Racing scrum half disappears from this huge arena as Lee Halfpenny adds some salt to the Parisian wound. Bernard Laporte, Tom Whitford to his right, Steve Meehan to his right. Well, Tuisova trying to console the opposition line, but this biggest of all stages, this biggest of all days, Machino such a key cog, and there you can see the angle that maybe the officials made the call from, and it does appear that that head was crunched as he hit the deck. My goodness me. Right, so what do the two Laurents do? They've got Xavier Chauveau, the replacement, young replacement scrum half on the bench.
You just need to think now about that the Champions Cup final against Saracens. Machino went off concussed, didn't he? And Carter went off injured as well, and it had a massive impact. Saracens were very dominant, but you think about this game now, they've lost their 9. What do? Do you take a winger off and put a 9? You need a specialist 9. You're not going to win a game without a specialist 9. And
it's not quite the same as when CJ Stander got sent off a couple of weeks ago, was it, for Ireland? And they could almost cover that back row position.
Yeah, you just
did it to great effect, of course.
Yeah, Ireland did. You just double your work rate. But 9's so specialist. I think you need to bring on Chauveau, who's on the bench.
Well, Masoi stepping in as temporary scrum half, or one him off, is going to release the ball from that maul. Chevansy. Oh, the ball flipping clear. I'm not sure whose hand it came off. A Toulon hand, says Michel Reynal.
This is Maxime Mamos, ripping the ball in the tackle.
Looks like it's going to be one him off, stepping in initially anyway, off the left wing.
Interesting, they've got Xavier Chauveau on the bench covering scrum half. He joined Racing at 7 years old. He's very young, 23-year-old, not played much. Only had 5 starts for the club, so you play one him off at 9, an international winger. To bring a young lad on in such a high-pressure environment. Massive call for the coaches, isn't it?
It is a scenario that the coaches use during the week in training as to if they lose a player, but having such a key cog missing, that seems to be almost a different scenario than any other.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, scrum half is so specialist. Remember, we've tried it at different clubs I've been at. Poor old Elliot Daly at Wasps, he had to go one day at training, didn't enjoy it at all, and he's one of the most talented players I've ever had the pleasure of playing and training with. So it's really tough. It's such a close skill that you talk about the passing game from every breakdown off the deck. It's just not a skill that anyone else practices. And you can just hear the atmosphere in the Nou Camp now. It's gone a bit dead, hasn't it? There's a lot of disappointment in the crowd from that decision, right or wrong. It's having a huge impact on everything at the Nou Camp now.
Yes, your memory of stand-in scrum halves goes back to Mr. Bergamasco and that Italy-England test, albeit it was a call for the starting 15 from, I think it was Nick Mallett at that time, and it really didn't play out. But somebody's got to step up to the plate now and take responsibility for Racing. And Dmitry Zarzewski is going to have to use his captaincy skills to the utmost just to keep them focused, not to lose their heads. There's plenty of time to go.
Yeah, you think about the last 3 scrums, every penalty has gone to Toulon. Look at the power of that scrum when you've got Mikhail Tadza and Simon Minot in the second row just piling through.
It's just Suter and Marnonu. Suter, one of the joint captains, and neither of the joint captains, of course, are playing for Toulon this evening because Juan Smith is the other one.
Yeah, you just think that Racing, the wind's gone out their sails a bit. They're getting absolutely smashed at the scrum. They've got no scrum half. They have a player sent off, obviously. And Toulon won't have to do too much to keep extending this lead. And with this guy kicking your goals, I'd expect it to go up to 9-3.
Well, it's been such a boost for Toulon to have Lee Halfpenny back in their ranks as he boosts their score again. All the pressure on that man and his team now as the red and black flags in the crowd are the predominant colour.
You just see Dmitry Zarzewski there, the captain. He looks deflated. Emotionally, it must be so hard. You're trying to pump your team up, your scrum's going backwards. He's got to really step up now and lead this team. It's going to be tougher and tougher as every minute goes by.
Is it a case of just almost getting through to half-time and minimising the damage so they can get their heads together in the hutches as to what they want to do for the second half?
Yeah, it's got to be. There's Belarus again with a great steal at the breakdown.
Great work from the loose head. Now the tight head tries to make a little headway. Girardo, the Toulon captain, Masoi, is going to be brought back. Got to think about Christmas, Zoe. When he left Castres in 2012 to join Toulon, the first top 14 final was against his old team, and he lost. Now, in his first season for his new team, Racing, he'll be hoping that deja vu doesn't happen.
No, I think it could come back, couldn't it? He didn't play in the following year, did he, in the final?
No. When
Toulon won it. He's had such a big impact. You just see Benarous there. I talked to him up earlier about his work around the breakdown. And Tamifuna, a bit of a carry. Gerardo, it's done for hands in the ruck in at the side. This is what Racing need. Just another early shot for Dan Carter. Try and pull it back to 9-6. Trying to settle the nerves a little bit. If there's one man that can do that for you, it's the best player in the world currently in Dan Carter.
The Marseillaise trying to motivate the Racing team. There's Xavier Chauveau watching as his premier fly half does get them another 3 points. I wonder how soon it is before we're going to see that young man on the park.
This is where the coaches earn their money now, isn't it? Do they just stick with him off until half-time, then discuss it as a team? Just got to play some territory, get out of their half. Don't give Toulon any opportunities at all now. Try and see out the next 15 minutes.
Cousin sat back, but able to present the ball to Imhoff. Nyanga won 2 top 14 titles with Toulouse. Imhoff doesn't find his fly half directly, and Dulin skates to a halt, and suddenly there's just red shirts in front of him. The skills of Imhoff really being put to the test now. In fact, so much so that he tries to make some headway around the fringe, often risking the pass inside his own dead ball area. Chevron-C steps in to show out should be done, and Hussein running his way out from behind the white line. Again, there's a red reception committee waiting for him. Thankfully for him, the penalty goes Racing's way.
Yeah, that just shows what I was talking about earlier. You've got to bring a scrum half on Xavier Chauveau. Dan Carter, the best 10 in the world, was put under pressure from Imhoff. Imhoff trying his best to play 9, but that passing skill, passing off the deck, so different to just putting the ball through the hands regularly as a back. You just see it was 2 passes on the trot that went awry, and then he didn't have the confidence to make a pass dummies and went himself, nearly got turned over. And luckily, the feet of Johan Hussein got themselves out of trouble, and then a pretty silly penalty. See the pressure he's under. Got to bring a scrum half on, I really believe that. Take a winger off or something. You can't take a forward off because your pack is going backwards. Your whole attacking game will be stunted by the passing of someone playing at 9 who's not used to playing there. And as good as Imhoff is on the wing, and as hard as he'll try to play 9, it's just not the right thing to do.
The overthrow gifts the ball to Toulon. Armitage, crash ball Charlie. Pellissier doing the dog at the bottom of that maul to get the ball back. Gorgodze. Straightforward work from the big Georgian. Armitage looking for that wraparound behind him, but there was nobody offering. Guiteau and Ramoz trying to combine a straightening effect, but Racing holding firm so far. Chocky goes over the top of Zarzewski, lays the ball back. Gorgodze gets it out to Tuisova. This is where the man's so dangerous. Memuka Gorgodze with the first try of the top 14 final. And inside half an hour, Toulon in charge on the scoreboard.
Yeah, some really clever attack there from Toulon. A lot of teams defend their scrum half on the edge. Imhoff's moved into scrum half. They've gone back down the blind side where Imhoff would be defensively. And it was that man, Tuisova. Some brilliant hands, a brilliant offload from Gorgodze. But then Tuisova beats someone, gets down the wing. He's been so dangerous. He beats more defenders than absolutely anyone in the top 14. You just see they go back down that blind side, don't they? Some carries. Just see they're out of position, they're outnumbered. And then Gorgodzi gets the outside to Asova in space. Brilliant tackle there from Dulin. But Gorgodzi gets back to his feet, supports. Brilliant offload. Just see there.
It was a double tackle on Juan Martin Fernandez lobby that effectively made the space for his teammates.
Yeah, brilliant offload. And he was complaining about a tip tackle then as well. It's feisty out there. Toulon looking very, very comfortable now.
Oh, bouncing off the upright, but Toulon do have a 2-score advantage now.
That was it there, wasn't it? A little pump from Juan Martin Hernandez lobby, and he just talks there, looking at that tackle. That's what he was complaining about. It was Bernard Leroux, wasn't it? Tips him up, but they get the try. He just drew in 2 defenders. Little offload to Gorgodzi, who flicked it on to Asova. And Gorgodzi got back to receive the second pass and score.
And 120 kilos on the hoof from that sort of range. Nigh on impossible to stop. 10 minutes to go now till the break. These Racing forwards are really going to have to up the ante now before that half-time whistle to try and get something else for their team. Pellissier hangs one high and finds a good touch ultimately.
Yeah, Toulon don't need to do too much now. Just clear their lines. Put some pressure on Racing 92 there. Racing 92's set piece has been struggling at scrum and at line out. They lost their last line out, didn't they, when they were trying to clear their lines.
Zazewski collecting his thoughts. I mentioned that sending off for CJ Stander for Ireland, and of course it's just occurred to me the referee is a certain Mathieu Reynal, same man on the whistle. A good referee, it has to be said. It's one of the top European referees now, if not moving himself up in the world rankings. Of course, his experience of Racing will be blighted by that horrible injury 3 years ago now, when Racing went to Montpellier and he had that horrible collision, broke his leg, 2 places, broke his ankle and his collarbone, out of the game for almost 2 years. But he said before the game, I hope that nobody knows who the referee was. Sorry, I'm afraid that one's missed.
Yeah, they certainly do know who he is now. Such an impact on the game. He started off saying it was a yellow, he thought it was on his back, and then changed it to a red. Crucial kick here though from Johan Hussen.
The long-range expert steps up to the plate and delivers. And that is a very important 3 points for Racing's resolve going towards half-time now. Messieurs les Blancs waving in the stands in the belief that their team have to keep in this game till the break and then change things around once they can sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, 14-9, they're still in it. They need to get to half-time in this position. It's going to be tough though, isn't it?
Hussen losing the ball in the contact though, and it's invited Toulon to run it back. Guillaume Gerardo, like Monsieur Reynal, a Catalan, of course played for Perpignan when they won the trophy, as did Maxime Mermoz, although he wasn't part of that squad at that time, I don't think. Actually may have been, yeah, he was, wasn't he? He was coming through from the Toulouse academy. Steph Armitage out to Bastareaud. There's the French captain, muscling up, working his way into position for his team. Havana offering to do some hard yards. And again, great work from Eddie Benarous. The loose end, working as an auxiliary flanker in those sort of situations.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've said that, is it? Third penalty is one at the breakdown. He's not doing too well at the scrum, going backwards in the scrum, but the breakdown he's winning penalties. Some coaches would like it the other way around, but if you've got someone like that can compete as well, it's another sort of feather to the hat.
Yes, Racing need an all-court game from all 14 players remaining on the pitch. If you're just joining us, Maxime Machineau sent off in the 18th minute of this final. Zarzewski, we talk about top 14 champions. Of course, he was part of the Stade Francais side back in 2007. That took that accolade. Loré smuggling the ball back. Zarzewski with his hands on the ball, but waiting to go, and it's always that, am I allowed to go, sir, from the defenders around the fringe.
See the speed of ball here. Him off there, just checking every time. He's got to pick the ball up and make that decision to pass.
Halfpenny anticipating very quickly where Dan Carter was going to try and land that one. For somebody who's been out so long, psychologically, I mean, these games are big enough as they are, but physically and mentally for him, it's such a big challenge, isn't it? Especially when you've got Dan Carter and Brice Dulin trying to land bombs on you outside the 22 as he does now. This time Halfpenny can't take cleanly, but his mates help him out. Poussin weighing up the options into the final 5 minutes of this, well, somewhat controversial first half. Dulin going around the periphery, trying to find his way out. In the end, it's him off. Tamefuna, the conduit. Imhoff once again in as the feed. There's Chris Masoi, the veteran All Black. Nyanga getting the offload in. And Racing trying to catch Toulon out now. Chavancy losing the ball in the contact once again.
Yeah, you just see the frustration on the Racing 92 players. They're just feeling that Toulon aren't rolling away, and it's slowing their ball down even more. Not only having one Imhoff as the 9, who's checking his passes, checking his position of the ball, whereas a 9 gets to a ruck, picks it, chucks it, and it becomes more natural. Just hear Zarzewski complaining about them not rolling away, slowing the ball down, but the play there from Racing going through the guts again, little pick and goes around the edge. Marceau with a little bump, offloads to Zarzewski there. Nyanga around the corner, offload into one Imhoff. Just see there, Chavancy picks up, goes through. Complaining about a high tackle there from Stephen Armitage, but for me it's not high. He just manages to lock in on the ball.
Well, plenty of rugby coming your way this weekend. This the starter of a fantastic rugby offering on Sky Sports tomorrow. Wales trying to stop the grand sweep from the All Blacks. England on the flip side trying to make sure they do it over Australia. And then we go to Port Elizabeth tomorrow afternoon for South Africa against Ireland. What an equation that one is. And then, well, the World Rugby Under-20 Championship final comes to its conclusion. Ireland against England from the Academy Stadium in Manchester. 6:30 Sky Sports 1 to see the future of World Rugby. It has been a fascinating tournament, no question. And with two local sides, in inverted commas, looking for that gold medal, it is going to be an intriguing final match. We've got intrigue aplenty in this one as well.
What a scrum there from Racing.
Plenty of effort from the Parisians. I'm not sure they got the call. We'll see which way Michel Reynal is going to reset this. You can see the urgency from the Racing forwards. A couple of minutes to go now. Kept themselves within 5 points though.
Yeah, did you see the difference there between that scrum and the previous three? They were deflated for 3 scrums, weren't they? And they just got run over by Toulon. I know it's a little bit more technical than that, but they've got the bit between their teeth now. A fair bit of frustration. They feel very hard done by, and that scrum was much better from Sarzeski and co.
I'm sure Nick Kennedy in the studio will be able to enlighten us at half-time with the almost change of body language from those Parisian forwards. And there we see it again, but this time Toulon can clear the decks. As it's stabbed away, but it's going to come back in style. Bristoulin gets up there, but it's Mermoz who picks up the ricochet. It's a visible change of gear almost from Racing towards the end of this half, trying to get a little closer to that Toulon tally. Plissier invites Husson to run it back if he dare. Sort of angle that Husson might go for a drop goal in other times, but not today, as Gorgotza stands in his way when he cannot believe it. But this is a big call and a big 3 points on offer to Racing before the break.
Yeah, it's exactly what they wanted going into half-time. A relatively easy 3 points here for Dan Carter. You just see Gorgotza, he pretends he's not looking. He has a look out the corner of his eye. He knows what he's doing. Stand there, block, make it easy for Halfpenny.
And then put your hands up in the air.
And then say, not me, sir. Yeah, it's a definite penalty. He pretends he's looking at the ball, looking up. No, Mamuka. That was deliberate blocking. A pretty decent call there from Mathieu Reynal, the referee.
Well, last week it was Dan Carter in the 99th minute that made all the difference. We've still got a lot of time to go in this final, but psychologically there is a big swing on offer from the boot of the mercurial New Zealander, the World Rugby Player of the Year. His team need this kick. And no surprises, he supplies it. Half-time whistle goes, Racing down to 14 men, but keeping themselves in the game. Half-time, it's Toulon, leading 14 points to 12. What a match.
Est-ce qu'on peut revoir les images? Ben, j'ai pas revu. J'ai pas le choix.
Pour Toulon, pour l'intéressé numéro 15, Raif Alfeni. Toulon qui mène 6-3.
Placard!
On récupère bien, c'est très bien.
Welcome back to the land of the Matador, where Toulon are holding the red cape, but plenty of bullish behaviour from Racing towards the end of that first half has shown that they mean to keep in this game despite being a man down. Just, well, nearly 3 months ago now, El Clasico produced a very tight affair between Real Madrid and Barcelona, which the visitors won 2-1. Are Racing going to be able to pull themselves back from this 2-point deficit in the next 40 minutes and get the deserved reward for their season? Really, it's been such a special season for the Paris side. Andy, tactically, what are you expecting now that Racing have had the chance to sit down for 10-15 minutes and sort out what they're going to do?
Yeah, I think the boys in studio talked about it, didn't they? Keep it tight, play a territory game early on, and go through their power runners up front. And Toulon, the opposite, they'll be trying to shift this Racing 92 defensive line around, trying to play at a high tempo, trying to play at pace. Should tire out the 14 men from Paris.
And of course Toulon will go looking for that gap, trying to find where Racing have had to make the adjustments. And the likes of Bristoulin, Joe Rokathoka there, and won him off. Really going to be tested out athletically more than anything else. Chavancy, the man to step in first and allow that clearance from Hussein. But it's going to come back at them. Tursova, the provider of that first half try for Mamuku Gogotze. You have to remember that in the last 5 years the winning average is just 6 points. Shows how tight these contests have been. Indeed, the last 10 top 14 finals, there's only been 19 tries. The majority of points have come from the boot. And indeed, in those last 5 years, we've seen only 4 tries scored. We've seen 1 so far this evening. What have we got left in the final 40 minutes of top 14 action for this season? Bastereau trying to tiptoe along the line. Good work from Loré, sticking to his task. Racing looking to go. Dulin out to Carter.
Sortez, rouge, sortez!
Leaves plenty of time for Halfpenny to decide what he's going to do. Zarzewski makes a bit of a hash of that up and under though, and it's going to be Toulon who sent the red waves going towards that blue and white defence once again.
Placard! Avantage terminé.
Advantage is over. So Chiocchi puts his head down and drives. Scored a remarkable try against Montpellier 3 weeks ago now, I suppose. Went all of 30 metres in. Memos. Is this going to be his last game in Toulon colours? A lot of gossip linking him to Bath in the English Premiership. Samuel Manoa. Power. Another power operator to Isova. Zarzewski doing really well to get his mitts in there, stop that ball coming back and allow his team a breather.
Yeah, brilliant tackle from Dan Carter originally. Eddie Benarous piles in, and then the captain, Dimitri Zarzewski, gets over the ball, wins the penalty. You can just see though the ease that Toulon are attacking with, going from left to right, finding short sides. They've got numbers on their feet. Racing are having to work so hard just to repel every attack, and they're going to need more of that from Carter in defence, and Zarzewski and guys like Eddie Benarous around the breakdown.
There's Ronan O'Gara alongside Laurent Labite. What concoction have they set up at half-time to try and keep their team in this, but give them a chance of snatching their first Bouclier de Brennus in over a quarter of a century.
Interesting, O'Gara is the defensive coach, isn't he? Not known for his defensive capabilities himself, but could always pick holes actually in opposition defensive when he was a 10. So he's done exceptionally well there, hasn't he, since he's gone?
Not on your bucket list then?
Defensive coach in Paris. O'Gara's got that ticked off. I'll take the south of France somewhere maybe.
One of the few clubs you haven't played for or been involved with, but you get what I mean. There's interesting perception of defensive alignment now and defensive needs and how it's changed, of course, over the last 10-15 years. My mind goes back to that quote from Murad Boudjelal on April the 1st, just before that European quarter-final between these two. He said the loser of this match will be favourites for the top 14. Now, there's a lot of jest, and you always wonder with Michel Boudjelal whether he's on the wind-up again, as Nyanga just takes his eye off the ball at the critical moment. But that fired up his team, especially when Bernard Laporte said, I don't think we're good enough to win this tournament, but we'll annoy a lot of people.
Yeah, interesting call there from Laporte saying that, because that was a few weeks ago, wasn't it? And he probably knew Halfpenny was nearly fit again, and Giteau was coming back, and Samu Manoa, who hadn't played that much, he was back. Habana was back from the sevens. He's a wise man. He's putting things out in the press that he doesn't believe himself, and here they are in the final, 15 against 14. You see the speed of the Racing ball, though. Zarzewski was calling players in then, wasn't he, to try and go short, try and pick and go, and then not enough of the guys got on their feet. Saw Tamifuna struggling. Chris Marceau was in front of the ball, and Toulon have only conceded, I think it's 37 tries this year in the top 14. Racing are going to have to produce some quicker ball, get some momentum, be able to play a lot faster than they are at the minute to try and cause trouble for this Toulon defence.
Yes, Toulon with the best attack and one of the best defences in the regular season, and showing already this evening that they have plenty of flexibility and options within their attacking structure. It's a matter now whether Racing are going to allow them the ball, the opportunity to really show what they're about. Look at those stats. There's the challenge that it is for the Parisians, and they're up to it in the scrum.
This will be interesting now. Hussein, I think he's got the distance from the look of that first kick that he took from distance in the first half. This is just over the halfway line. We just see penalty there given against Chili Chaba, I think, for going on the angle. I've said this a few times, I've got the shape of a forward, a front rower, but I don't know too much about scrummaging. But I do know that Hussein definitely has the legs and the ability to bang one over from 55 metres here.
There's people that could be in this Toulon side. Dwayne Vermeulen, having returned obviously from South Africa to sit alongside Juan Smith and James O'Connor, watching on now as a fellow South African lines up this long-range opportunity to put the Toulon team behind. It's on its way, it's hit the target, and Ronan O'Gara applauds Hussein as for the first time his team have got their noses in front.
Yeah, who'd have thought that? After 18 minutes with Machino sent off, a couple of minutes into the second half here, and Hussein hits a monstrous penalty there. He's done it all year for Racing when he's got the opportunity. Smashed a big one over in the semi-final, didn't he? He just snuck them into the lead.
You remember the young South African announced himself to the top 14 on debut with a 54-metre drop goal. He has got a massive boot. There's Michel Hussein. Now his team though, back in their 22. They've got to make sure they don't allow Toulon to respond with points so quickly after taking the lead. Westergaard going through former teammate Dimitri Zarzewski, former teammate for club and country, of course. Bestereau joined up with Stade Francais just as Zarzewski was lifting the Bouclier de Brennes for the other Parisian side. Again the call goes to Racing, again the work at the breakdown bears dividends, and already we're seeing in the first 10 minutes of this second half a sea change in attitude.
Yeah, you saw there Ben Tamifuna, perhaps renowned for his work rate around the park, certainly is for his scrummaging and his ball carrying, but he did what Eddie Benarous did in the first half, got over the ball, won on the penalty. I think Toulon were complaining that he didn't release.
The two Catalans having conversation there, and Gerardo obviously not happy with the way this match has started since the break.
Si vous voulez avoir raison, moi je donne une information pour vos joueurs. Après vous faites ce que vous voulez. Je vous le dis.
French captain, you've got to learn here. Don't go back at the ref too much. You're expected to win now, Toulon. You're expected to go on and get a lot of the calls, but just saw there it was Wenceslas Lauré And Tamifuna, I think they showed enough of a clear release there. And Stefan Armitage went to deck, and you see Gerardo was looking at the ref straight away, appealing for it. He's just trying to nip that in the bud, really.
Well, the work of the Racing props, both in the set piece and in the loose, very impressive. And the Parisian hordes in the stands, making a weekend of a trip over the border, are enjoying life right now. Of course, this game coming to Barcelona because initially of the Rugby World Cup, forcing the top 14 calendar to shunt a little further backwards, and once that happened, it became clear that the Stade de France was not available due to the Euros. Hence this historic move to Barcelona for this historic tournament, and we're going to see a card here. It's going to be a yellow this time, and it's going to even things up for a bit as Xavier Choki heads for the naughty boys step for the next 10 minutes.
Toulon are pressing the self-destruct button here, aren't they? They've come out, they've given penalty after penalty away in this second half. And you'd have thought, with a 15-minute half-time, the coaches, Bernard Laporte, Diego Dominguez, that have said, look, we don't need to give silly penalties away, we don't need to compete the ruck, we don't need to fly in. Just see here, Choki, what's he doing? Going at the side of a Moore going forward. Easy decision there for the referee. And it's a cumulative one, isn't it, for the yellow card? Cumulative penalties, and Toulon really need Gerardo to stop arguing with the referee, get control of your team again. It'll be some story if Racing go on and win this.
He's done it again. 6 points inside 3 minutes for Racing, and suddenly the scoreline looks a little bit different.
Wow, a brilliant start to this half for Racing 92. That man, Johan Gusen, absolute dynamite in that right boot of his. As I said, he's done it for the last couple of years for Racing 92. What a stage to do it on. He's nudged his team 4 points ahead. And wow, it really is game on now.
Bastaro coming through aggressively on his opposite number, legally so. Now the teams are levelled up for the next 10 minutes. Is there a temptation for Racing to change their plan in order to maximise this opportunity, or is it just keep the same going?
I think it's keep the same going there. They're a very pragmatic team, naturally, even when they've got 15 players on the field, and that man Dan Carter's kicking for territory. They're slowing it down a bit. I think in attack they perhaps need to lift the pace up, but keep playing through the forwards, keep the driving wall going. Force errors on Toulon. I think Toulon are just expecting this to click now, and these next 10 minutes are crucial. It's 14 on 14, just seeing the tackle again. Less of the law, it is a red, but I feel ever so sorry for Machino.
You're still not convinced, are you? We watched it a lot through half-time. You're still not convinced?
Less of the law, he lands on his head, it is a red, but I think Gitto's just dipped to try and protect himself, and it makes it look a lot worse than it is.
Well, that's a line-out that looks as worse as it was, as the deflection allows Massaoui to take his team up to halfway. Chavancy looking for a better gain. I think he's overcooked that, seriously overcooked that one. Chavancy not renowned for his kicking skills, but that was a waste.
No, that's for Dan Carter. Lead the kick into him. Henry Chavancy, I've played against him, he's a massive unit, he's powerful, he's strong. Carry hard, get into the Toulon half. He's forced Gitto to make tackles. He might get a penalty at a breakdown. Don't stick it on the toe, mate, when you can't kick. Leave that to the kickers. Dan Carter, best in the world at it.
Yeah, the alliance between Carter and Chavancy has really been a hinge for Racing and for their upturn in form since Carter's introduction. Of course, Chavancy has been what they called the godfather, been working with him on his French, taking him around town, introducing him to Paris. Big hit from Massaoui. Massaoui really fired up now.
Massive hit from Massaoui, and he lets him know, doesn't he? Gerardo's losing his head a bit. He's captain, you've got to get control of yourself. He's just dipped.
Just getting under the skins, aren't they? You can see it's rankling now. The odd, just take a look at the scoreboard. The change is forced now.
He's argued with the ref. You're the captain, you're the leader, you've got to take the example yourself. Get the discipline of your team right. He's knocked it on there. Massive tackle from Marceau. Then he's getting up and trying to give some verbals. Just see it again here. Bang! Chris Marceau. Huge hit. Dislodges the ball. Wouldn't fancy running into him anymore, would you?
I'm not sure quite how good Guillaume Garrado's Kiwi is, but I'm sure Marceau made his point as he stepped back. So, change in that Toulon front row. Florian Frazier on for Stefan Armitage. And it is Marceau who picks and goes. Gets the call from Carter, and suddenly Racing are opening up here. Hussein straightening things up. Tuisova with the big hit. Dulin cutting back into the heavy traffic. Chavancy taking things on. Who's stepping in at scrum half? This is where the instinct has to kick in. It's Rokothoko to allow Nianga to go again. Gymnastic falls now that make you look twice to wonder how they've gone to ground, but the ball continuing to be set back. Imhoff in as that feed. Big opportunity here for Racing. Hussein overrunning things. Dulin having to step back in. Great balance and pace when he's allowed, but in close quarters, not the biggest of fullbacks. Benarous with a little help from Nianga. Where's the clearance though? It's not there. The moment's gone.
Yeah, Samuel might know winning the penalty, but how good is Brice Dulin? He beats someone every time he touches the ball. It started from the breakout from the scrum. Chris Marceau with the offload, you just see there. Could have given the penalty there against Chili Chava. It just allows Samuel to get in. Watch this though, Marceau offload. Carter onto Loré. Watch hands from him off there and onto Chavancy and Hussein down the line. And the issue is it then slowed down a bit, didn't it? We're always waiting for him off to get to the breakdown. But it's the difference between a 9 and someone trying to play 9.
But it was the sudden expansion of their attacking game that caught Toulon out.
Yeah, it was Marceau off the scrum, wasn't it? Brilliant break. He's so powerful. He's done it for years, whether it be for the Hurricanes back in the day, the All Blacks, Cast when he first came over, Toulon, now at Racing. He's been a brilliant player, and at 37, I tip my hat to him, Chris Marceau. He's still going and going strong. He's been such a good player since he's gone over to France, and he gets that impetus, gets off the scrum there, gets on the front foot, and then the offload game comes. It's so difficult to stop there. See Dulin, he beats people for fun, doesn't he? Just shows that a game of rugby is for all shapes and sizes. He's small, Chris Marceau is big, yet they can both be equally as effective in different ways at times.
Yes, you look
at shot there from Guiteau, was it?
Always looks worse in slow motion, doesn't it? Well, Guillaume Garrado looks like he's going to be unable to continue. Well, there's another change in the equation. Jean-Charles Aurioli, a regular replacement for the Toulon captain. A Toulon man, of course. Not that many of those around. Not in the Toulon ranks, I should add.
There's a lot of guys signed in from here, there and everywhere, but it's good to see someone coming through the Toulon Academy like Jean-Charles Aurioli has.
Yeah, Florian Frazier, another one, but it has to be said they are a rarity.
The guy that's been Simbin, Chiocchi, he came through the academy too, so we've all been listening and watching to guys like Carl Heyman. He put a massive amount of work into that club, very successful.
So Jacques Delmar, the forwards coach, just analysing what's happened in the first quarter of an hour in this second half and how things need to be changed from the Toulon perspective. Still another 5 minutes on that chalky yellow card. A very important 5 minutes, you think.
The experience of Guiteau now just to bring a calm head to everything.
Another change at hooker, this time for Racing, that's Kamil Shah. The vibrant buzzball of a hooker who's made such an impact this season, both for club and for country, of course. The high ball goes up, Dulin takes cleanly, but Toulouse, I think, was ahead of the kicker there.
Yeah, he certainly was. Only by half a yard, but it's enough. And again, it's another mistake from Toulon. You don't need to make those errors. Toulouse probably the quickest guy on the field. Don't get offside, simple things. But in the final, gives Racing here an opportunity to go 21-14 up. And who'd have bet that? After 18 minutes, Dan Carter with a bit of French there, saying Poto. Have a look at this. Half a yard offside. Joshua Tuisova. Why? It's the sort of thing that coaches pull their hair out for. Absolutely no need for it. But it gives Dan Carter an opportunity to put Racing 7 points clear in the 24 minutes to go. Could be a decent lead to hold on to.
Well, this, the court of King Leo, of course. Lionel Messi, the man who normally orchestrates things here, comes the Crown Prince of Rugby, Dan Carter, stepping up to give his team just a little bit more security on the scoreboard. And who would have thought, after 18 minutes, when Maxime Machineau was sent from this pitch, that midway through this second half, his team would be in front by this amount.
Yeah, it's some turnaround. Toulon look shell-shocked. Their discipline's letting them down. It's been started off with their captain, Gilles Guirado, arguing with the referee. It's just filtered down, hasn't it? Basic errors, simple discipline errors. And Racing somehow, without a scrum half on the field and down to 14 men, have got a 7-point lead.
Halfpenny feeds out to Giteau. Those are the experienced operators now, the likes of Habana. Centurions on the test arena have to make that experience come to bear now. Talking to Bez, Gorgotza takes his team up towards the Racing 10-metre line. Bastareaud, I haven't seen an awful lot of him since that early foray in the first half. Orioli. Halfpenny trying to make the break. Referee says play on, and the Racing forwards voracious in their appetite at the breakdown, turning the ball over.
It was Carter, wasn't it?
Well, an auxiliary forward like Dan Carter then. Rokothoko, another New Zealander making an impact. Rokothoko gets the bounce of the ball, and Racing get their first try. And what have we got on here? What a story this could be.
This could be one of the greatest upsets after getting Machineau sent off after 18 minutes. The second half performance so far has been phenomenal from Racing 92. Dan Carter with a crucial turnover, and then Joe Rokothoko, what a finish. Little chip over. He's been on fire for Racing Metro over the last few weeks. Scored a try in the semi-final last week. Watch this. Dan Carter over the ball, take a bow, doing the back row work. Chavancy with a clear out.
And there he goes. You can see Rokothoko scored the second try last week against Clermont. Different type of try then, but all that nous that comes to bear. And there is the score. Well, 18 minutes into the first half, they went a man down permanently. 19 minutes into the second half, and look at the scoreboard.
There you go, what a chip. Look at his face, delighted. All the bench boys there to celebrate with him. Anthony Claessen's leading the charge, Luc Ducalcon. What a story this could be. Brilliant hands from Hussein. He's chipped over Habana. And had the speed and luck of the bounce of the ball to get over. Wow, what a scoreline this could be.
Well, that work at the breakdown taking its effect on Dan Carter's left boot, but you can still look at that scoreboard and realise that the yellow card for Ciocchi has cost Toulon 11 points.
Well, at least we know Dan Carter's human as well. He set up the try with the turnover gave them that ability to find the space. Brilliant hands from Hussein. Dank Arthur is human, he can miss a kick. And wow, Toulon, you've got some questions to answer now, haven't you?
An hour gone in this final match in the top 14. And yet again, great sporting theatre from French League Rugby. What is going to happen in this final quarter? You wouldn't want to put your money either way, euro or pound.
Where?
Memos having to struggle back to pick up the pieces. Chilachava finding no way through there. Racing back to 15 men now. Stefan Armitage back from his enforced rest. Gorgotza racked up by Bernard Larue. And what a big shift the South African has put in over these last 3 games, really. And Luke Charteris away with Wales now, and having effectively left the squad, Larue had to step up into the engine room. And it's credit to him that Charteris hasn't really been missed too much. I know the line-out's slightly different, but the work in the scrum and the loose from the big South African back rower. There he is again.
Gorgotza's been huge for Toulon, but the Racing defence monumentous at the minute.
Memos finding no way through.
Turnover ball, il était debout.
Ball there for Racing, turnover ball. Benarouz not throwing the 50-50 pass. Karitsa stepping in to keep things moving. Dulin tries to thread it through, putting pressure on Halfpenny in that tight channel. Dulin again hangs it high. Looks like Tuisoba's struggling on that right wing. Police comes in to cover.
Yeah, the battle at the breakdown is certainly being won by Racing 92 at the minute. Tamifuna again with the turnover. What work from those 2 props. Eddie Benarouz got 3 turnovers in the first half.
Now this is a big change. Freddie Michalak on for Matt Guiteau. Dylan Armitage also going to join the fray. 2 guys, of course, are heading to Lyon to join up with Pierre Mignoni from next season. What is their swan song going to be? How are they going to finish? Can they impact now in these final minutes of the top 14 final?
Well, if there's a guy you want to bring on to try and change a game, Freddie Michalak is that kind of guy. He's got the ability to win you a game, but also, I've seen Freddie a few times, he's got the ability to lose you a game as well, and with nothing to lose, they're 12 points down. He's potentially the guy that can unpick this Racing defence that has been so phenomenal since Machino's been sent off. This could be key as well.
That's problems for Racing as Tamifuna limps from the park to Calcon, the man to replace him. You can see a few players now struggling. You see Tuisoba in the background. Doesn't look like he's fully fit. There is Ducalcon, thankfully for Racing fans, recovered from that big hit that he suffered last week. It's been a tough few weeks. Pulled up with quads chasing Nicolas Mas in the last match against Montpellier of the regular season. Came back, missed a game and then came back, had that head knock last week against Clermont, but thankfully hasn't missed this one. Oh, my goodness, he wouldn't want to, would he?
Another opportunity here now for Hussein. Toulon again, their discipline has been abysmal. In at the side of the ruck. Send it in at the side. Hussein definitely has the legs here. And wow, if he gets over, knocks this one over, it's a 3-score game.
Jackie Lorenzetti, the man who 10 years ago took over Racing Metro as they were then in the Pro D2, got them elevated to the top 14 in 2009, effected such an expensive and glamorous makeover, as indeed Mourad Boujalal did to Toulon Bougelal's seen some return. This would be the first return for Michel Lorenzetti, and how he is desperate for Husum to nab this three-pointer. Oh, he's missed that one. Just a little too far on the angle.
Crucial miss that. Very, very tough kick. Without stating the obvious, if he slots that over, it goes to 15 points in front. 3-score ball game. Racing become huge, huge favourites then. Dominguez looking on, he doesn't know what's happening.
Where's Bernard Laporte? Mad Bernie's gone missing. As he often does, it has to be said.
Does that surprise you?
No. Has had a great era, shall we say, in Toulon's colours. 7 finals in the last 5 years, and won 4 of those. Has made a huge impact in replacing Philippe Saint-André. Here's another replacement for Toulon. It's Gorgotze going off, being replaced by Virgil Bruni, another Lyon-bound Toulon player. Michalak with the restart. Got to be careful to not allow any scraps for Toulon to feed on in those sort of scenarios. Himov has done a very good job. Let's look at the clock. 65 minutes, and they haven't put on their replacement scrum half.
Correct decision so far, isn't it? I questioned it. Stan corrected him. Himov's been brilliant. Potentially, if he carries on man of the match status.
Well, they've mixed and matched on occasion with Chaboncy stepping up, or Moussoui, but in the main, it's been the Puma winger who's been hovering around the breakdown to keep things moving. Carter, drop goal, not going to find the elevation, or indeed the direction. Quarter of an hour left of the top 14 final, and Racing at the moment dreaming of their first Bouclier de Brennus in 26 years. Is it going to happen? Are dreams going to come true?
Potentially they could. Right decision there from Dan Carter. Just keep chipping away, trying to get 3 points. Worst case scenario, Toulon kicking the 22 back to you guys, and you've got possession again.
Carter gets the call from former All Black teammate Rokothoko. Karitsa it is who steps in as the feed this time. Kamel Shah and Chris Moussoui trying to organise position as well as possession. Ducalcon loses it in the contact. And unforced errors have got to be kept to a minimum now from a Racing point of view. Fernandez Lobe has been a part of this Toulon side since 2009, played in all of those 7 finals I mentioned.
Look at the body language of the Toulon players. They don't look like they're energetic, they don't look like they're buzzing to try and get this game won. A few of them on their haunches. I think they just expected it to happen. The rearguard action from Racing has been phenomenal so far. Can they hold out 13 or so minutes? What a finish we have in progress here.
You have to remember that this is Racing's 12th final. The last time they won, as I mentioned, 1990, when they beat Agen, their 5th title. That was the year of the champagne at half-time. You remember Le Showbiz as it was then, with Jean-Baptiste Lafont and Frank Menel and the pink bow ties.
Hey, maybe the way Racing are playing the second half, they did it again today. A bit of
plenty of bubble.
Champagne.
Certainly has been a rejuvenated Racing that we've seen since the break.
Well, they've had something at half-time, haven't they? Because they've been phenomenal in this half. Turning that round. Toulon haven't scored a point in this half, have they? Racing are winning this half 14 points to 0. And everyone, I'm sure, would have looked at this and thought it would go the other way, including myself.
Yep, the last points that Toulon registered were after that Gorgotze try before the half-hour mark.
Toulon aren't showing any desperation at all, are they? These reset scrums, that's chewed up another minute. Get the free kick.
Stefan Armitage feeds out to that back line. Bastereau just upended as he went towards the 22 by Chaboncy, but the dumper truck finds his tyres again. And suddenly the Racing defence is under duress. for the first time for some time, it has to be said, and managed to keep themselves at the other end of the pitch, away from danger. Plissier feeds out to, I think that's Roman Taufik-Fanua, big second row replacement. There's the other second row, Samu Manoa. Mishlak caught inside that breakdown, so the forwards are going to have to try and reset position before the playmaker can get back in. Delan Armitage steps up to take responsibility. Bastereau sets it back, but Racing coming through illegally, said the referee. Virgil Bruni, back row replacement, can't get any further, so they go back for that earlier call against Wenceslas Lorre.
It was actually against Dan Carter. He's just saying he hooked his leg round, but it was Bastereau. He had a 3v2 there, just tucked it again. Interesting in the hair. Michalak going for the corner. Probably the right call at 12 points down with 10 minutes to go. Toulon have got to look to strike now. They've got to get that forward drive going. They've been so successful at that this season. And there's the guy that effectively won them the semi-final. Andre Creux. Well, they'll need intercepted it. Maybe they'll need something like that again tonight.
It's a big 10 minutes for Jean-Pierre Creux, not least because next season he'll be wearing the colours of Toulon. But right now, all he's thinking about is Les Ciels et Blancs. And huge credit to him for seeing what was on last week against Clermont. It was great anticipation that turned chaos into a creative try from the big South African second row, which of course swung the match.
Yeah, he got the offload away to wind him off as well, didn't he? He knows how to make a good decision.
Oh, Racing get their mids in front. Rokothoko forced a touchdown though. What's the call going to be from the referee here? Great work from Creux first up.
Yeah, Creux got his hand in there, disrupted the line out. Scrum forward for Toulon here, 5 metres out. More pressure, got to score.
Pressure ball. Toulon trying to make the most of this opportunity. Racing with 8 men in their scrum, going like for like. Not putting a scrum half in place unless Rokothoko is going to step up. Advantage to Toulon. Plissier waits for somebody to cut back. That cut back is Brian Habana. And suddenly Mermoz is through. Tries given. Maxime Mermoz brings Toulon back into the game with 9 minutes left. Suddenly we have a different equation.
There's the power of the Toulon scrum. Won them the penalty, and then it was Habana on a little switch off Jonathan Plissier here. You'll see it, cuts the hard line. Takes 2-3 guys with him, and then somehow, by hook or by crook, Mermoz gets his hands on the ball. A little bit of fortune there, I think, from the ex-Perpignan centre. Just pops up, doesn't it? Is it a knock-on? Just falls in between his legs, and he manages to hold on and sneak close enough round to make this an easy enough conversion for Lee Halfpenny. Brilliant line though from Habana, took in 4 defenders.
Reprise.
Well, Lee Halfpenny with a pressure kick now, because the value of points has just increased as we move inside this last 10-minute block. Halfpenny is up to the task, and Toulon are up to 21. The gap is 5, and we've got 8 minutes left. Who is going to have the final say in this contest?
You see the speed that Racing 92 are walking back to the halfway line. Referee wise to it has stopped the clock. And Racing will do everything they can now to slow the pace of this game down, kick it long, get the ball deep into Toulon's half. Seen Eddie Benarous coming off, I think.
Benarus replaced by Kachik Vartanov. Well, in the 3 contests these two have played this season, the biggest winning margin was 5 points. And as we mentioned earlier on, in the last 5 years in top 14 finals, the average winning margin, or the biggest winning margin, has been 6. We knew it was going to be tight, we knew it was going to be tense. What is the final chapter going to say about this story?
Pretty sure there's no arms in that tackle there on Brice Dulin. It was Roman Tofanua, wasn't it?
Carter gets a late charge, I think, from Orioli. Hangs one up, and Dylan Armitage up to the task. 5 years in the Toulon squad, going to end in 7 minutes' time for the former England fullback. Will he be smiling? We shall wait and see as Brunier sets the ball back for his team once again. Toulon now trying to make the most of the man advantage. There is a gap somewhere. Can they expose those Racing legs that have been on the go for 19 consecutive games, not to mention, of course, the 20 minutes of extra time last week?
Et pas côté neuf, on gêne, on empêche le déviage d'être efficace. 17 blancs.
Yeah, penalty there against Vartanov, not rolling away quick enough. Momentum certainly has shifted back to Toulon. Pretty tough call there, I thought, from the referee. He was rolling away, but he just didn't let the cleaners be efficient enough. He's staying there for a millisecond too long.
Chris Massoi's day is done. Looks like Lee Halfpenny coming off as well.
That's a massive call, isn't it?
Fullback coming off to be replaced by Theo Ballin, which will allow Dylan Armitage to revert to his usual position, but to take your prime kicker off at this time?
Especially with a 5-point deficit, you might need the conversion to win it.
They've got to score the try first. Here they come. Michalak throws wide. Ball presented well, and they sweep back to this near side once again. Heavy legs, lack of oxygen in those Racing bodies now, but they've got to man up and show what they're about. Basterol picks up the ricochet to allow Toulon to go again.
Derrière. Lâchez Blanc, derrière les pieds.
Out it goes to the huge frame of Roman Taufifenua. Bruni. Solo doesn't make much headway, but keeps the ball in the clutches of Le Rouge-et-Noir. Working towards the final 5 minutes now.
Faites rester les joueurs debout.
Desperation is going to be creeping into the minds of both teams, but it's Racing with that advantage. Oh, Police with a knock-on, and Racing can catch their breath, and there will be no rush for this pudding.
No, some brilliant defence there from Racing. They're out on their feet, aren't they? Every single player on that field has put a massive shift in for Racing 92. And then it comes down, a little knock-on there from Jonathan Pellissier. He was fuming, wasn't he, with his forwards? A little roll out, he goes to pick it up, knocks it on. I think there was an overlap. But Toulon need to find that accuracy. They've got every bit of momentum with them now, but Racing 92, they're out on their feet. Guys all over the floor. But the work rate's been phenomenal.
Well, let's hope the rest of the weekend's action lives up to this first instalment. Tomorrow morning, New Zealand Wales from Dunedin gets things going, 8 o'clock on Sky Sports 1. It's followed up by Australia, England. And can Eddie Jones complete the clean sweep of his host country? And then South Africa, Ireland. Has Joe Schmidt got enough to revitalise the Irish? And then the final of the World Rugby Under-20 Championship. Ireland up against England. 6:30 is the time on Sky Sports 1 once again. Right now, we've got just over 4 minutes left with 5 points to difference. Big scrum from Toulon. Imhoff has to pick up. Brave work from the Puma, but he's been isolated. And this is opportunity for Toulon. Settling things down. You can imagine now what's going through those minds.
Yeah, they've certainly got the advantage at scrum time. You just saw a little bit of inexperience there. One Imhoff picked up at 9. Scrum was slightly going backwards, and it was Anthony Claessens who flew in, dived off his feet to protect the ball. And wow, Toulon, what an opportunity this is. You can see Orioli going wild, asking for the scrum. I think Juan Martin Fernandez, Lobby's captain at the minute. Orioli was desperate for the scrum. He knows he's got them. Can they convert this?
Well, we saw this before from Racing in Le Barrage. They're going to take Ducalcon off, and they're going to bring, I think, Tamefanua back on, are they? There's some call, yeah. They're going to bring Ben Tamefanua back on. This is exactly what they did in the barrage.
Against Toulouse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's questionable, but the big man's had a breather.
I wonder where Martin Castrogiovanni is watching this from. Formerly, of course, of Toulon, and now formerly of Racing 92.
Castro only stays in Vegas, doesn't he? Taking Vartanov back off.
They've taken Vartanov off and put Tamefanua in at loose head. Well, this is a big call from Laurent Labitte. Labitte and Travers, of course, know how to win this tournament. They did it with Castres in 2000. They're rolling the dice now with Racing in 2016. And they get the call. And look at the elation from those players in blue and white.
What a decision there from Mathieu Reynal. Penalty going against Manasseh Saulo. I mean, just see the celebrations there of the Racing players. Husson flew in, jumping for joy. What a penalty. And penny for the thoughts of any decent prop out there that knows what went on then, because I certainly don't. The net result is Racing penalty. They clear their lines. Let's have a look at it again.
Well, there was a hook coming in there, and I think it was from Kamel Shah. Yeah, it was. And that's why the hands from Virgil Bruni, I think, gave away the penalty. So credit to the young hooker. There he is. He has got to hit his man. It has to be said, his darts have been questionable through the course of this season. This is a pressure moment. Oh, they work it at the front, and Shah explodes away. Over halfway he goes. Racing moving away from danger. They don't want to put it out too far. Great work from Bernard Leroux. They've got the advantage as well. They've got one hand on the trophy now.
Yeah, penalty from offside, but Kamel Shah, take a bow. It's your debut season in the top 14. Question his line out. He makes a 40-metre break. Brilliant line out call. To have the ability to call that, whoever's calling their line out now, unbelievable. Such a pressure moment. And then break upfield. I don't know who it was. I think it was Virgil Bruni offside. Yeah, he's going to be happy, isn't he, Lorenzetti? Toulon players will be absolutely devastated.
Well, Lorenzetti said this was a step into the unknown towards one of the holy grails that he craves. They, of course, fell a step short in the Champions Cup final. Now they've had their shot at the Bouclier de Prentice, and they've fired bullets in adversity. Worked so hard. Dan Carter, as last week, about to add the coup de grace to this match. Job's done. Dan Carter puts it through. Racing is celebrating. Are they going to have the restart? Those fans don't care. This match is over. Toulon, who had control for so long. After 18 minutes, they had a man advantage. They moved into a 14-6 lead. But what a job Racing have done over the final 62 minutes of this game. My goodness me, Bastereau on a rumble to try and finish things off. Bellin loses the ball in contact. There it is! The new camp stands in celebration of new champions. They've done it! Racing 92. How big is this win? It's big enough with 15 players, but in adversity, that is a huge, huge victory and such a memorable match.
Unbelievable from Racing 92. Every member of that matchday squad, including the coaches. What a call. They brought Tamifuna back on at the end to shore up that scrum. There's the top 14 win in a minute. That scrum, everyone's thinking Toulon are pushing over there, getting the try, kicking the conversion to take a 2-point win. But no, Tamifuna comes back on, they win the penalty, then they go up the other end, get another penalty, and Dan Carter, what a man, what a year he's had, topped off with a top 14 win in the new camp in Barcelona. The World Player of the Year, Racing 92, champions of France.
Well, Boudjelal and Lorenzetti, old adversaries of course, whose barbs at each other always seem to contain an incendiary element. Boudjelal said, if Jackie really wants to learn from me, he must remember that I first lost 3 finals before winning one. I think Michel Lorenzetti has gone one-upmanship on the Toulon owner on the biggest of sporting stages. Racing 92 have produced a virtuoso performance in the final act and rightfully now take their ovation. What a game!